Okay. We are live, Joe.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm burning the candle at both ends, pal.
Hell yeah. It's
You
better
know,
than being unemployed.
just came off an interview with my pals at Walk-In, so I'm excited to get that one out. They're killing it, and I'm just getting it done. Families, you got a family, you got to deal with a family. So
Yeah.
it's just part of
No,
life.
I know. It's the same with me, even though, well, I pretty much have sole custody. So it's like, but still have to listen to all the bitching kind of thing. So. But, that's what you got to do. That's our cross to carry or whatever.
That's it, man.
But
yeah, exactly. So what's going on in the market? I haven't been watching closely this morning. I've been busy.
Well, everything's up a little bit. 2%. I mean, I think that the market was, I think the market's going, okay. The Russia stuff looks like it's going to stall out for a little while. I'm not saying that the moves into Donetsk and Luhansk aren't big, but that was already kind of being occupied by them anyhow. Yeah. And they threw their terms out, which is recognize that they own Crimea now, don't join NATO, and there was a third thing, but nothing seemed like. I mean, I don't think they're going to get 2 or 1, but at least there's something out on the table. Yeah. And now, sanctions going down on the inner circle, but not even the bad ones. This is just regular old shit. So now it's kind of like, I think the market's just settling down a little bit going, okay, wait, if he really was going to go full on crazy, he would have full on invaded.
You would think. Yeah.
Yeah. But now he's trying to play, a long game, and get what he can get and survive. I did find it interesting that, our last president weighing in on the side of the Russians against America and NATO.
And I saw another article where Pompeo, his Secretary of State, is doing the same thing. Like, I really admire Putin, and he's so smart doing this. And I'm like, okay, first of all, there are 150,000 Russians and thousands and thousands of Ukrainians whose lives are going to be at risk. So treating this like it's a fucking, trading strategy or a real estate strategy just fully shows how fucking clueless you are. But to sit there and praise a man who is a threat to this country, I'm getting started. I can feel myself rolling into it, Joe. I'm going to back off right now. I'm sorry, man.
It's treason.
That is fucking the most un-American thing you can do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Pompeo went to West Point. That's what's so friggin' absurd.
Fucking ridiculous.
I mean, I could see Trump just being a total fucking off the rails dumb shit who says stupid stuff. But, everybody just goes, what the fuck? I mean, stealing classified documents. I mean, that's jail time on that one. He got top secret documents at his little fucking shithole resort up in wherever that is, Palm Beach. And that's treason. That's jail. And then siding with Putin. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with these populists that they think that they're going to they would have a better showing with that guy. I mean, do you see what these Russian peasants live like?
I think I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think at the end of the day, there are other motivating factors here. Yeah. And look, the Republican Party, sorry to all of my Republican friends, has a extensive history over the last decade of being in bed with Putin. Yeah. And I don't know what the financial motivation is or the strategic motivation is, but I'm not even talking about all the Russia stuff during Trump's presidency. I'm talking about interactions and bias towards Russia and their policies. Yeah. So to me, like if let's say Barack Obama did this or Jimmy Carter, or any Democratic president since, Stalin, people would be freaking the fuck out, just all over them. But, I don't know.
It's either, I guess with the Republican Party, you either got to be a Russophile or a pedophile. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Oh, God, dude.
I mean, no, with Trump and on his little Lolita Express with Epstein, and who's that guy, Matt Gaetz, and all his shit going on, and with 17-year-old girls, and Rohrabacher. I mean, I don't know if he's a doing that shit, but he was definitely in bed with the Russians. But everybody goes, the Russians would have never done this with Trump in office. And I'm like, no shit, because he's one of them.
Exactly.
So of course they got a stooge in the White House. That's like KGB playbook 101 and compromised at that. So to me, I'm just really nauseated. But I think the market, to jump off this topic, because we could just go down this one for a long time
and lose 50% of our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. I just, that's the thing about crypto and everything. I just feel so bad that how are people believing that this guy gives a shit about them? He doesn't. I mean, I know it's fun. Everybody wants to throw the first punch in a bar fight. It's fun. It feels good to connect. And I know a lot of people are frustrated. But, it just doesn't make sense that, you don't know how good you have it here. Go hang out in India. Nothing against India, but go hang out in Mexico. Go hang out in fucking Russia, wherever, and see what those people live like. They don't have smartphones. They don't have, public assistance. They don't get food stamps. It's like, I mean, where do you think you're going to get taken care of better here if you don't want to do anything?
Yep.
So to me, I think it's just frustrating. I mean, it is interesting because I did find, the group that was, we talked about this yesterday, the trucker group in Canada.
Yeah.
Well, the funding platform, somebody hacked it or got leaked or whatever, but all the funding list, everybody who gave money to that.
Yeah.
And it is more than half, or I think more than half of the users are Canadian, but a little bit more than half of the money was American.
Right.
And so there's a whole list. There were people in TSA, DOJ, Army, Navy, all using their official emails. So now what you have is essentially, and a ton of Oath Keepers. Okay.
Well, there's a shocker.
So Oath Keepers, I mean, that's a terrorist organization. And so basically, using that money through that platform sounds a lot like money laundering to me, and sounds a lot like a Patriot Act violation. So, who is fomenting all of this chaos? And again, I come back to Putin and his FSB or SVR guys or GRU guys running around funding these different groups. And so, think about it. If, the polarizers, the entrepreneurial polarizers that, make money by people clicking on their website, I told you about troll farms that I've dealt with in Kazakhstan that basically do all the searching of a word for SEO optimization.
Right.
Where they got like 4,000, 10,000 people there just searching dipshit all day till it moves to the top of the list. Well, how hard is it to turn them onto these websites and just have them keep hitting the website, keep hitting the ad banners? So then the polarizers get revenue from that. I mean, it's a total scam and it's all money laundering. So, everybody wants to bitch about crypto being money laundering. Let me look at that shit. That's happened right in the open. Yeah. And it's, to me, it's disgusting. But I recognize that people believe in different things. Actually, I was Republican for a long time. But, I was more of one of the, I don't know how to say it the right way, establishment Republicans, in the sense that it was, in the Republicans, Rockefeller Republicans, they were liberals. That was the 60s. So the fact that now it's gone so far to the extreme of victim politics, these are all such whiny victims. I just can't stand it. Just stand up for yourself, get into something and make some money.
Well, the most despicable one is fucking Tucker Carlson.
God, is he horrid? He went to Dartmouth. He's smarter than this.
He's ready to start funneling money to the fucking Putin. I mean, what a piece of shit. Just what a total piece of shit. And anyway, okay.
They just feed on all that. But anyhow, so look, everything kind of looks, what we're getting at is that I think everybody's okay. They're not going to like storm into Ukraine and we're going to have World War III and nukes flying everywhere in the next couple of days. So now everybody's like, okay, let's get back in. So it looks to me like, it hit at 25.50 at about 8 this morning, ETH. And then it kind of tailed down to 26.70 and now it's on the way back up again. So, and I'm looking at this chart right here, looking at 15-minute candles. I think that everybody's kind of thinking, all right, it's not going to be as chaotic, the response, with the Germans shutting down Nord Stream 2 and, and then the Europeans unified and everybody kind of saying the same thing or pretty close to it. I think everybody feels like there's not going to be any wedge driving in total chaos, that it's going to be one thing or the other. And now it's a binary decision. So right now it's like not full invasion. So everybody's going, okay, it's not as bad as we thought. And so I look at that. I mean, BTC, what are we looking at over here? 15-minute count, kind of a similar pattern, of course, right here. Nothing really. Let me go to 4 hours just to see what that looks like. look, it looks like it kind of bottomed out right here. And over the last 2 days, it's kind of been working its way back out. Again, this could be Russian oligarch buying for all we know.
Sure.
If they're going to be freezing bank accounts in, the Russian laundromat in London, aka London, then, they're going to be going into crypto. I mean, that's what you do. You can only carry so many bars of gold around with you. And it's kind of hard to scrape off a chunk and pay something. But, to me, I think I'd love to see the fire charts later on or tomorrow, but I kind of feel good about everything right now. I don't think this interest rate stuff next month is going to be as big a thing as we thought, as long as the U.S. equities market holds together.
I feel like so much is baked in at this point that I don't know. I'm so used to the people that I interact with who are very doom and gloom right now.
Yeah.
And recession is coming and blah, blah, blah. Even the guys on the All In podcast, supposedly smart guys, a billionaire, guys that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, all saying it's coming. It may come, a general recession may come, but I'm not sure that DeFi is going to, and crypto is going to experience as much of it this time. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
Also,
look, to be a recession, that's 2 straight quarters of is GDP, I believe, not GNP, GDP contraction. And, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Just because the markets, I mean, we're at full employment. Everything's humming big time. That's why we have all this inflation, because everybody's getting paid more, supply chains clogged, demand is off the charts. I think we did 5.7% growth last year, which is like China type numbers. Well,
right.
China in a bad year, I guess. But so I don't see how you go to a recession, because everybody that's going to be cashing out on the street is going to be buying into something else. And, maybe some of it's crypto, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
But they're not going to go into bonds at that point. They're going to go look for value plays. And so it'll just be set to put a new floor in and ready to go up again.
Yep.
So I don't see it without any big, if the Fed goes, oh, we're raising it 200 bips, then that's going to cause some fucking problems. But a quarter, 25 bips, no, I don't see it. 50 bips, no, I don't see it. So I feel much more optimistic, and particularly when everybody is doom and gloom. All the best traders in the world say that's when you want to invest.
Yeah.
When everybody is doom and gloom.
Of course. Yeah.
So
this is the cycle. This cycle down. Look, just look at the history of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera, and trading. I mean, look, you hit the bottoms. It doesn't matter where on the down buy you buy. Like if you're early or late, ultimately, crypto always goes higher. Right now, Not financial advice, not a guarantee. I am not an economist. I am not your financial advisor, but my personal experience has been hang in there. And at this point, I've seen a couple of tweets over the last few days about people talking about the fact that emotionally, this is probably a really good time to sell. Financially, this is a stupid fucking time to sell. You're already down. There is zero to be gained from cutting, from taking the hit right now, because you're just going to regret it later when it's past where you sold again and then gone back up. So,
well, yeah. And if everything's off 90, 95%, 60, 70%, it's not the time to sell. I don't know if it's not always the time to double down either.
Well, no, I'm not saying you have to, but
no, I know you're not. I'm saying that, but like to your point, what's the point? So you're going to lock in. I mean, maybe you sell it to take the loss and rebuy right away. I don't know. Maybe that's a strategy, but because, you can wash trade on this stuff still. And then you basically reset the capital gains clock, but you did take the loss. Kobe was saying something about, it's kind of similar to that 60% or more of the people that made life-changing money late in this cycle are simply going to lose all of it in a similar amount of time by bag holding too late. So this kind of goes to doubling down on dips that keep dipping. Sounds like me in the .com days, and eventually trying to make money both ways and dying on leverage. Well, I have done that, but I haven't done that in crypto. It's kind of like what we say a lot is that, like if you're up right now on anything, I mean, to me, I would take some profits if I'm up big.
Yeah, of course.
But, just to kind of have your double down money ready. But if you're just down 95% on stuff, it's not the time to sell. But then at the same time, you have to and this is what I'm glad I did, as much as it killed me back in like November, was I did sell quite a bit of Matic and Phantom and Curve and all of those, because I was up like 4 or 5x. And, you know, at that point I was kind of like, you know, we were all feeling like it was kind of running out of steam a little bit. And, you know, I'm like, I'm not getting caught with my pants down on this one. So, you know, I just basically sold some of it, but I still have some of all of that.
Yeah.
I just don't have as big as stacks. And, you know, and I'll probably go back in, but, you know, I'm looking for new stuff.
Yep,
and,
absolutely.
you know, one thing we don't talk a lot about anymore is the yield farming. And this is a great time to be doing those strategies. You know, if you're holding that stack that's down 95%, you pair it with something on QuickSwap or Sushi or wherever, IDEX, you know, Trader Joe's, Spooky, Spirit. I'll say Spirit first would be my first choice, since, you know, we're friends with them.
Wait till you see version 2, dude.
Oh, really?
I'm interviewing them in a week. Holy shit. Interface.
Anything you can share, or is it all
functionality? Locked? I don't know what's public yet or not. I'll ask them this afternoon. I'll talk about it tomorrow, whatever they say I can. But cool. Some really, really awesome shit from these guys. But yeah, just keep building.
So park your stuff in yield farms on those places, and, you know, and then just try to forget about it. I haven't even gone back to look at like rebase tokens or anything in like weeks, because I know the price is way down, but I just want to go back and go, oh shit, I got 500 of these now. 500 Klimas. Wow. Okay.
You know, I was sitting on those. I have fun. I mean, I've had fun lately because I can't detect the overall value in the debase or Ravi is going back to watch my accumulations on Eureka.
Ah, there you go. How's he doing? He's
doing great. I mean, you know, look, he has made no bones about the fact that he's going to do this slow and the way he wants to. You know what I mean? And so from that perspective, you know, I don't have any, I'm not like, oh, fuck, what are you going to do this month kind of shit, right? I'm sure this community that got airdrops are going to get anxious and dump or whatever. He just doesn't give a shit. He's just saying, look, I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to build it right. I'm going to do the market making, and I'm going to make this happen. And to me, it's like, okay, I'm going to sit this little tiny pile of money over here. I'm going to watch my rebases happen at this nice low, slow interest rate, low being, you know, APY shows it at 650. His real relative APY, I think, is in the 200s. And I'm just going to let these things fucking accumulate. I don't care. I put a little bit of money in. I'm just going to watch it. And I'll check in on it every now and then and see how many more of these pretty little tokens I have. And then, you know, when he launches, we'll see what happens. Now, the interesting thing is, you know, I did the interview with him. I'm in this group in Twitter, a DM group with a bunch of Olympus DAO whales. And, you know, these are hardcore Olympus DAO guys. Mm-hmm. And one of them had listened to my interview with him, and he commented and said, you know, I'm really, really impressed with this guy, Alex, because they've lived through the hyperinflation dilutionary phase of Olympus DAO. And now they're kind of licking their wounds on the prices right now, like all of us are that hold Olympus DAO. But he's like, I think what resonates with them is he's just starting off at a conservative level, and he's not, you know, aping everybody in, and he's doing an airdrop of 10 million tokens, and he's not doing a sale. And I think that resonates with people, as well as his background in market making and everything. And I'm not trying to pitch this. Again, you know, I've disclosed now that I own a small amount, but a small amount in USD value. But I think that resonates with people. I think that we're in that phase now where more conservative, smart approaches to going forward are going to make a lot of sense. And when you're not trying to raise $800 million because you don't care, you care about the end game that your strategy is, then it makes it a lot easier to just work, right? Just build, just deliver, and not worry about what everybody else's time frame is. So anyway, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, it is cool. He's a good guy.
Definitely.
So, you know, I thought we were going to talk about this yesterday because I thought I saw it in the links, but I don't think we got to it. But
what's that?
This is the Ripple stuff. So what's really interesting is they unsealed the two Perkins Coie LLP memos from 2012 when they gave them advice how to avoid turning XRP into a security. So it shows how the analysis how Ripple uses analysis to design their asset in order to avoid being regarded as an investment contract. So what's really cool here is that however this resolves, it's going to set precedent for everybody else. And this is what everybody's screaming about is clarity. So this was on financefeeds.com, breaking Ripple legal advice. If anybody wants to look it up, there's a lot of bullets here. I'll just do the major ones. Coins that are purchased are likely to be prepaid access. If sold to investors, coins are likely to be securities. Now, this is 10 years old advice. So there has been some, advancement of regulatory positions since then. But this is cool that in 2012, this was the advice they were getting. Coins not initially sold may still constitute securities if sold later. Coins may become commodities. Exchanges may be money transmitters or currency exchanges. Coins are unlikely to be regulated under counterfeiting laws. Founders and foundation may be subject to illegal gambling regulations. I thought was kind of interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, accuracy and promotion of new coin will be necessary to avoid unfair. And this is kind of one of the things we always talk about, not overselling it and not promising huge returns, because that definitely gets you into both securities exposure and, fraud if it doesn't work.
Right.
Founders and foundation may face risk related to aiding and abetting illegal activities perpetrated using the coins. Uses of coins have obligations to comply with state and federal tax laws relating to transactions involving coins. As to recommendations, Perkins Coie LLP said, do not sell coins, accept investment through an entity, do not collect fees, I guess, on the selling of them. Take steps to avoid misleading purchasers or recipients of coin as to their value or the risk associated with them, kind of like what we throw at the bottom of our screen. Avoid stating or implying that coins are equivalent to or compete with USD or any other type of government-issued currency. And that's interesting, too, because that's kind of what the Treasury guys are saying about, the stable coins is that, they look at it as, a foreign currency. So it's how does that bounce up against the US dollar, which, kind of puts USDT and all those other ones in scrutiny. Avoid stating or implying that coins are, I already said that one. Do not advertise the coins for use in illegal internet gambling. It's funny how everybody was focused on
the gambling,
on the gambling side of it.
That's hilarious.
Do not promote the coins for illegal or questionable uses. Educate the public. Do not, so that new coin does not oversee or otherwise control the use of the coins. Sounds like decentralization to me. Do not use coins in lieu of payments to employees. So don't pay the employees in coins.
That's weird.
Founders should consider publishing new coin usage conditions.
Is that, do you think, because they think it establishes it as a currency at that time and they didn't realize?
Probably is what they were thinking. Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it's just a great article to read. And it shows to me that, that they got advice from a top tier law firm. Perkins Coie, or however you say COIE, they're top 10 global law firm, and that they tried to comply. So, this 8 years of legal hassle they've had to go through, I think is going to bear some really good fruit for everybody.
Yeah.
And, all hail them for that. But I did see that the token was at 85 cents when this decision was announced to unseal these memos. And then yesterday it was at 70 cents. So I don't know where it's at now, but everything was down. But that's good news. And it looks like they could.
Well, it's crazy to me. One of the most despised projects in the ecosystem is the one fighting the hardest for themselves, obviously, but they didn't have to. I'm sure there was a point in this that they could have just fucking settled, but they realized how important it was to their business model to be able to continue, that they were willing to take this fight on. And I'm certainly not a big fan of XRP at all, but I am a big fan of the moral stance that they were willing to take. They didn't take the easy way out. Maybe there wasn't ever an easy way out, and I'm giving them too much credit, but I have a feeling there was an easier way out, because typically the government would prefer to settle because they don't want to they don't want this shit to happen. They don't want precedent to be set. They don't want the honeypot to get shut down. And so I have to applaud XRP's willingness to fight this fight. And I frankly, they're a lot stronger in my mind right now than what was it, Block One?
Brock Pierce or whatever it is. Is that he Block One?
No, I'm talking about whoever settled the other day for 100 million.
Oh, BlockFi.
BlockFi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Maybe I'm getting them all mixed up. I know what you're talking about.
Block something or other. Anyway,
but sometimes it's just easier to settle.
Of course, it's easier to settle, but at some point, if you're going to claim to be a true believer in decentralized finance and spout that as your strategy and why you exist as a company, then fucking walk the walk, dude.
But wasn't Ripple one of the ones that just wasn't decentralized at all?
Well, that was a big part of it. That's the crazy thing about it. There was a lot of centralization there, right? And they've made money from things like fucking Western Union and helping Western Union to make more money fucking over poor people. But the fact that they're fighting the fight to me says, okay, there's at least something positive there. I'm not going to be an investor in XRP, but I appreciate the fact that they're taking the fight and like you said, they're establishing precedent. So
so that helps everybody else, all the new projects, and it gets the US caught up to where we can all go do stuff and not go, fuck, am I going to jail?
Exactly.
For something I didn't intend to do. So
great.
So everybody should read that. I thought this was pretty cool. A good article in Cointelegraph magazine. I guess the year 1602 was when the corporation was invented, and the first one I think was the Dutch East Indies Corporation.
Oh yeah.
And so now they're talking about our DAOs, the new corporate paradigm.
You on the board? Were you on the board of the Dutch Indies?
No, I'm not that old. It was Dutch East Indies anyhow.
Dutch East Indies, yeah. You sure you were on the board?
I was just a senior advisor, man. When the boats came back, I took my 10% rake, and that was about it. And hung out and partying down in wherever, Amsterdam. But no, see, the trick is if you keep your hair, guys, you don't ever look that old.
That's true. We're both genetically fortunate that we actually have our hair still.
And also, guys, if you're young and you've got your steady girlfriend or thinking about getting married, you always want to make sure what her dad looks like.
Yeah.
Because if her dad's bald, your kids are going to be bald.
If you give a shit.
Yeah, if you give a shit. I tended to be that kind of guy who gave a shit because, of course, I didn't have any boys, but at least none that I know of. But I, whatever, just something to think about. But anyhow,
my poor brother somehow got the genetics exception, lottery exception, because nobody on either side of our family, my parents' family, men are bald, but my brother is just like, he's
Good. I guess there could be it's probably not 100%.
No,
there's probably can be a recessive combination there based upon, it's like a 1 in 4 shot maybe.
Yeah.
But I think if the dad of your future bride is bald, then I think the odds are 75% that your kids would be.
I have no doubt.
Bald, or 100% if he's got. I don't know if you could get 100% because the girl wouldn't have the double recessive bald genes, or you wouldn't
I don't know,
dating her. But anyhow, so they're saying this year DAOs, it could be the new corporate paradigm, and it runs through a whole bunch of things to talk about or to think about, different, like the DAO Act of 2016, all of these, or no, that's the DAO, I think. But really good article to read, Cointelegraph.
Cool.
Now, there was one thing that, speaking of the DAO, former crypto CEO denies responsibility for $11 billion Ethereum DAO hack. Now, that was the DAO hack.
You got that loaded up? Yeah. So I read Laura Shin is writing a book about the early days of crypto, blah, 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 Ethereum, etc. And she kind of stumbled on this. And so I read her article in Forbes yesterday about how they caught this guy. There's a couple of important stories here. The first is that Chain Analytics is the company that's actually broken. I think it's called Wasabi's ability to hide the origination of Bitcoin. So everyone that thought all this time they were protecting their privacy from governments or whomever, actually turns out that this company has the back door. Not a backdoor, but they have descrambled, and that's how they found this guy. So they were able to link him to some transactions, and that was linked to him using his email address with his name's domain, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how they caught this guy. And he made like multiple mistakes along the way. Here's my question. So it wasn't worth 11 billion at the time.
Right.
It was worth, a good number of millions, I think. But here's my question. If you've gotten all this and you made all this money in 2016 with the DAO hack, and theoretically, I wouldn't even call this a hack because he just exploited the smart contract the way it was written, right? I think all of these exploits are going to have a hard time being prosecuted because at the end of the day, the code is law and the smart contract is the law, puts people in a really bad position because they deployed something that allowed for this to be done. And part of DeFi is gaming systems to make more money, not necessarily this level of exploit. So he essentially exploited it. He even warned the founders of the DAO that the exploit was there beforehand. But then the question is, you make all this money from this, and even after the fork, he had all this Ethereum Classic, right? He got blocked on Ethereum, but he had all this Ethereum Classic worth millions of dollars. He then goes on to do an ICO and fails at it. Like his tokens were worth 530. I mean, the project's tokens were worth 535 million, had a market cap of 535 million at one point. But he does an ICO connecting debit cards to crypto, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I got millions of dollars falling in my lap or that I initiated from. Do you really go down the path of sketchy ICO at that point? I mean, seriously, what is the point?
Unless you're trying to make cover for yourself that like, oh, I don't have any money, so I'm going to do an ICO.
Oh, so I can wash the fact that I have this through that. Yeah, that's possible.
or just to show, well, fuck, if I had all this money, why would I be doing an ICO? To kind of show maybe to communicate he's poor. But that's a good point. It looks like someone siphoned off a third of they raised 12.7 million ETH worth around 150 million at the time, and then someone siphoned off nearly a third of the project fund. So it looks like he got about 50 million.
Well, he got 50 million in ETH, but then ETH hard forked, which created Ethereum Classic. And that enabled Ethereum to block his tokens, right? So they rolled it back.
Oh, this is the one that forced the hard fork, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So they rolled it back so that his tokens were no longer his on the Ethereum blockchain. But the Ethereum Classic people said, no fucking way. You can't do this. Don't do this. Which is also rumored that some Bitcoin people did it just to fuck with Ethereum. But he still had some value in Ethereum Classic, right? Which, one day I'm going to take a little trip down and check out what's going on in Ethereum Classic because they haven't upgraded the same path as Ethereum, but there is the potential within Ethereum Classic for the same kind of ecosystem that's on Ethereum. And I have no idea what's been done to upgrade but I know there's a full foundation. I know there's funding. There's value in the market. There are miners mining it. They're not switching to proof of stake. It's an interesting, there's an interesting potential play in the Ethereum Classic ecosystem. And I have no idea if there's any DeFi happening there.
Well, I remember back, maybe it was 2018 timeframe when you were talking to them or somebody in our
our buddy Andre in Ukraine.
Andre, I was talking to them.
He actually did some work for the foundation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And they were really moving on the, kind of what we'd call multi-chain now, I guess, but porting between the chains. Remember we used to talk about that? Piping.
Yep.
When it was all everybody saying piping between the chains. Yep. So I always thought that was interesting. I did own some at that point. I don't know what it's at now, but I think back then it was like
I think it's in the teens,
$6 or $7 or something. What's interesting is you said about Wasabi. I wasn't paying attention to what you said, but I didn't realize that was a tumbler. And it is saying that chain analysis has the ability to demix the transactions.
Yeah.
And because he took the ETH to BTC, sent it to a Wasabi wallet, and then they traced it to 4 different exchanges. Evidence there showed someone exchanged the Bitcoin for a privacy coin Grin, which was withdrawn in a non-custodial Grin coin called grin.toby.ai. The name toby.ai was used by Hanish on various social media accounts.
Yeah.
It was one of his email addresses. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then another one was a hosted node called 10X, the name of his company.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it sounds like they got him, basically. Interesting.
Yeah.
Then another one was You know anything about Oasis? A layer one privacy blockchain?
Okay. Yeah. So that's the one with run by the professor out of California. They asked me to do an interview of, I think, a community manager or project manager over there, and I told them that I wanted to interview the founder. I'd be happy to. It has a shit ton of money behind it. High performing, privacy first. I believe it's a Stanford. It's out of Stanford. Female CEO of the project, of the foundation, whatever. A lot of money available for people to build for incentives on the platform. I don't know what the level of adoption is at this point. You and I had actually looked at it at one point.
Yeah, I'm thinking it looks familiar now. Yeah.
Let me check out what's going on their.
Looks like they just cranked. They got 100 million. They got it in the first 12 hours on deep.
Yeah, they launched. I think a DEX launched on there, that has gotten them some life. But I don't know that anybody else is I haven't heard of any major projects that are actively looking to move onto it. I also don't think it's EVM compatible. What is this? Market cap and TVL is where'd it go? I just had it.
Are you on DeFi Llama?
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting is that their initial funding, November 2020, was $45 million.
The token is Rose. 73.49 million TVL. Price is down 12.74%, or the TVL is down. Yuzu swap is the swap that was launched, 74.97% of the total volume. Yeah.
So they have privacy preserving tech that allows sensitive data to exist on chain. This sounds like it'd be really good for healthcare.
Yeah, it'd be good for healthcare. It'd be good. You know, there's all kinds of things that people aren't going to build on blockchain because they're worried about the transparency of it. That's actually what's his name that I interviewed from not Ernst & Young, now EY. They built a platform that's integrated with Polygon that protects enterprises wanting to build on Ethereum or Polygon that want to keep data private on chain but want it to be on chain. This is supposedly native to the chain. I didn't do a very deep dive on it when I looked at it, but
well, they do have an EVM compatible one.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Paratime. So look, to address scalability, Oasis separates the proof of stake consensus layer from the computation layer, which it calls the paratime layer. This improves scalability because each paratime can process up to 1,000 transactions per second with a current limit of 1,000 paratimes on a network that equates to a theoretical upper limit of 1 million transactions per second. The Oasis core team has already built 3 paratimes. The first, Emerald, is Ethereum virtual machine compatible, so developers can bring their applications to Oasis and process transactions quicker and cheaper than on Ethereum. The second, Cypher, is set to launch in March. It executes smart contracts while preserving privacy. That's interesting. Developers can even make it so node operators don't see the details of the smart contract. The third, Parcel, enables users to store their data privately and permanently on the blockchain while granting access on it. That's health. That's health records right there.
Yeah.
Store, and then granting access on a case-by-case basis to parties that want to analyze or use the data. It is currently a permission paratime for use by companies that will be opening up. And this is very interesting because it's similar to what, Rit and Michael and those guys and myself, we were pitching this to Azure, Microsoft Azure, the kind of a similar thing. This is one. Yeah,
if I remember correctly, they had some pretty big backing behind.
Oh, yeah, Andreessen Horowitz, Polychain, and Binance Labs.
Yeah,
45 million in initial funding. So hey, good. So let's keep that one on the short list to start digging into. More.
That's one of those things that if somebody creates something really unique or a big project moves over, they suck up a shit ton of value, right? But that's when you get. Those are the kinds of things like Metis, Oasis, others, where you kind of keep an eye on them because all it takes is one big, project or one big farm opening up, paying out huge rewards that you can go make a ton of cash very quickly and bail. So,
that's just like Arbitrum, Cosmos, how when they become the flavors of the day, you want to be in there, even like with Polygon or when it was Matic back when we first started looking at that. I think I bought my first piles of Matic at like 3 cents.
Yeah.
but that was right when I was going, what the fuck's a layer 2? and how do we get our shit on it?
Exactly.
Thank you, Doki Doki, for teaching me that.
Right.
But yeah, this is a good one, Oasis. And then what was this? Oh, just some stuff on people weren't buying the dip or whatever. And then I saw other article that said they were. So I just kind of ignored that. And this was the article on the who funded the Freedom Convoy. And it's, basically the hacking collective. Is it DDoS, I think, or something?
No, that's a denial of service.
Yeah, but there's a distributed denial of secrets. Yeah, DDoS, but different service. Transparency Collective. But they're making the data all available, but just to journalists and researchers who request access because it has PII in it. Personal identifying information. So, who do you think's getting this right now? Homeland Security.
Absolutely.
Right away. So, but interesting how, nothing's as private as you think it is.
Absolutely not.
We say. Something else. And then I think I had one more thing. We did that. No, I think that's it. Yeah.
I got a couple here.
All right. What do you got? I'll unshare. You got it?
Got you. Yep. So great tweet thread. I'm posting it in the show links on how to leverage Frax to earn more. And there are a shit ton of opportunities, by the way, for earning using Frax and FXS. It's a governance token. But Frax is on the rise. There is an opportunity to get airdropped FPI coming up. And all in all, I just really, really, really love everything that these guys do at Frax. Sam Kazmian and those guys are just fucking brilliant. And then there's an entire article. So a tweet thread and article, both links will be in the show notes. Definitely take a look at those. So this site popped up the other day. This is vemarketcap.com, and it exclusively tracks VE-based tokens, governance tokens and projects. So keeping track of everybody that has some kind of VE model for liquidity and for earning and locking up and bribing for liquidity. And it's a great way to kind of keep track of the projects. Like or find out about projects. I have no idea what Saber is. So let's see. Saber is decentralized exchange, Saber liquidity pool. What blockchain? Somebody tell me a blockchain. Never heard of Saber. I got to believe Solana. What do you think?
Avalanche. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you knew.
I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
I was like, Joe's in the know, Joe. Porting assets from Solana, Ethereum, Binance, Terra, Avalanche, Polygon, Cello, whatever it is, and more. So anyway, really cool site because I think it's great to have kind of this niche tracking of VE projects. And there's projects in here I hadn't heard about yet. I interviewed the guys at 100 Finance a couple of months ago, and they are blowing up, man. They have done look at this 7-day change. 100 Finance is the really conservative stablecoin project launched by the founder of what's that site called? Shit. It's a site that has all the yield farming.
Multi-farm?
Nope. It'll come to me. Anyway, he wanted to create a conservative cross-chain stablecoin lending platform that was very conservative about how it's governed and very conservative about how it's run. They've jumped into the VE craze, added it to part of their protocol. And look, everybody else primarily is down or only up single digits. They're up 49.15% in the last week.
Nice.
Just an overall good project with a good. It's similar to kind of how Alex is approaching it. Going to build smart, build strong, be cross chain. They really want to be, a decentralized lending and stablecoin protocol. So great project, great team, and it'll come to me in a minute what the fuck his other product is called. But anyway, this is a cool project. It's vemarketcap.com. Saber we already looked at. Tuba. What was Tuba about? What was this Tuba tweet about? Oh my God, slow. Oh, this is interesting. I haven't taken a deep enough dive in this, but this is a DEX that launched where investors. Oh, and I think it's not synthetics, not futures. Starts with a P. Can't think of
Perps. Perpetuals.
So, so it's a perpetuals exchange, but investors can only get their tokens if the DEX does a certain amount of volume in a given day. So,
I like that.
Really interesting gamification on the model, right? Like you can't withdraw, you can't get your shit, what you've earned, unless enough people are over there trading and driving volume, or you drive enough volume for them to allow them to exit. So cool on model. I know shit about perpetuals, but I love the concept. It's interesting. This came up on my radar this morning. Witnet is a blockchain-based, so they have their own blockchain-based Oracle system. So competitor to Chainlink, supports multiple chains, but it's blockchain-based, so that the nodes, like in Chainlink, you can earn money from operating an Oracle or node or a verifier or a validator. But this one, you can actually, it's almost like a mining model for verifications of data on chain and API connections to real world stuff that are part of it, and permissionless so that people can start their own oracles. But the cool thing is, there'll be multiple nodes that are earning these WIT tokens because they're supplying and verifying and validating data that's being called. But I did a brief run through their website and a little bit of their documentation, and I'm really impressed with this model. This could be a contender, a competitor that puts a little heat on Chainlink. So we'll see what happens. But I'm actually thinking about learning about how to spin up a node and earning some of their tokens.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Reminds me of the old days of master nodes,
Yeah, no, I remember they just keep coming back, and they keep, in some way or somehow. Yeah, I remember when nodes were out, then nodes were in, and master nodes, and then it faded out again, and then now people, different ones have it.
Well, it'd be cool to be running a node that actually has an express purpose, right? Validating data that's being used by protocols across the ecosystem. That to me is a positive thing to do. Mm-hmm. I saw this chart. I should have brought it up when we were talking earlier. This is the chart. The chart is called SPY versus the invasion. So it's the S&P. Historically, every time there's been some kind of invasion or major, military engagement since I guess 1964. So Gulf of Tonkin, you buy at the invasion point. S&P is up. I don't know what the percentage gain is, but within a few months,
15%, something like that. Yeah.
Gulf War, U.S. intervention, buy it 310 to 410, right? Yeah. Afghanistan war, air campaign starts. You get a nice little surge and bump, but then you had a dump after the fact. But you could have made some money for a couple of months.
Think that. Wait, what's the Gulf War, Iraq War dates? I can't see it
because so Iraq War dates, invasion March. I actually know this is right because that's my birthday, March 20th, and I remember this happening. So Iraq War initial airstrikes started March 20th, and it goes from 800 on that day up to 1150, and then the Crimean crisis. I guess that's Russians' takeover there. By the invasion, you're at 17.5. Up to 2100,
and that's August 15. Yeah. No,
wars are good for finance. I think the bottom line.
Look, you get full employment going. You got all the factories chugging out, armaments, whatever.
Yes.
And like you said, interest rates banks tend to make more money too. So two big pillars of society or chunks, vertical markets make a lot of money. Yeah. And I guess appropriations come out too. So you get all the spending to finance it. The Afghanistan one I find kind of interesting, because the other ones Vietnam was kind of like that too, where it dragged on for a long time. And then I looked at the dates and realized it wasn't the whole thing. It was just
just a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I think Gulf War was the interesting one because, that was a fully mechanized war, as was the Iraq War. The other ones, Crimean crisis, whatever, Vietnam War and Afghanistan, they were more, nation building type things.
Yeah.
And then the Iraq War turned into that, but, the front end wasn't. So this is what, I remember the Gulf War I, that was when the Iraqi army was the fourth largest on the planet.
Yep.
And, I don't know, Russia's third right now, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, how'd that go for you Iraqi guys? Not too well. But in the second one, we just took it all the way to Baghdad, and then, of course, tried to occupy it and turn them into Americans. And
I'm sure the equipment and training of the Russian forces is a bit better than Saddam's were.
Yeah, well, those poor guys, they got pounded with aerial bombardment for like 3 months. They were basically running out of the holes.
Exactly.
Just saying stop. So they were just mentally trashed.
Yep.
You wouldn't have that in this situation, but it is interesting. It'd be interesting to see where are we today on S&P stuff.
I have no idea.
Let me look it up right now. Stop.
While you're doing that, largest Ethereum whale on record launches altcoin accumulation spree as crypto markets nosedive. So looks like he's buying up alts, but I don't think it's alts like, Chainlink, 6.78 million.
So XBT has changed his tune. He's buying all shitcoins now.
Yeah. Uniswap buying Uni, 1.7 million worth. Pax Gold, which is interesting. I always am fascinated by these gold pegged projects. Bought 1.5 million of that. $2 million of digital advertising. BAT, basic attention token, and then 600 Maker for 1.0 million, and more Uniswap. Another whale bought up 4.4 million. Interesting.
Anybody buying Sushi Swap?
No. Link, Engine.
What about Polkadot?
Nada.
I'm surprised. Chainlink is, to me, what is that trading at, like $12 right now or something?
I don't know.
That's always a good one to have in your portfolio.
It's critical infrastructure. That's why I was glad to see. I like to see this project WIT, because I want to see API 3 is another competitor to Chainlink, which is also a good project. I want to see competitors to core infrastructure. We have a lot of weaknesses in our infrastructure. Infura is one of them. That is a centralized provider that makes us at risk from attempted government intervention. So I want to make sure that we have multiple providers of data and oracles. So
it makes total sense. I just look at the top 10.
14 and then 0.35 is where Chainlink is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great price. I was trading that from like 20 to 25, 15 to 25 a lot. Same with Polkadot. Where is that one these days? I used to be pretty far up there, but there's ETC. ETC is at 27.56. So that's surviving.
Yeah.
When you look at all the other ones from that year or those years, Stellar down 19 cents at number 30. That was top 10 at one point. Near is at 9.10. Tron is sitting at 23. That was top 10 at one point. Litecoin at 21. That was top 10.
Yep.
All of those. Doge and Sheep are out of the top 10. Oh, Dot's at number 11. Okay. So you got a lot of good representation. I think the only legacy ones up there from 1819 would be like Ripple and Cardano. Everything else is new.
Yeah.
So all the other ones have fallen out. That's good.
So important Democratic political consultant in California, and Dennis Porter, my buddy Dennis Porter, who is a hardcore Bitcoin maximalist Republican, who we actually I had on my show. I really like the guy because he's engaged. He understands, like, he's a big supporter of Erica Rhodes against Brad Sherman. He's genuinely a good guy.
So he's crossing party lines.
Well, no. So these two have worked together to craft a bill that's in the California legislature to make Bitcoin legal tender.
I saw that. I did see that.
California. Yeah. So that, to me, look, I think the more people keep pushing this shit, the more people in the infrastructure of politics who keep saying and doing stuff like this and showing bipartisan support for stuff, I think it's a good thing to push the limits of the feds. So it's good.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Joe.
No, that's all good stuff. Look, I'm looking at S&P 500 chart right now. And, I think what you see here is kind of like what you were saying to buy the, I just want to switch this to screen. Look, we're right here. We peaked at like 4,800-ish. We're at 4,287 right at this point. So I think what's happening in these situations is, when the run up to a war, everybody starts taking risk off and taking profits and go and flee into safety. And then when the things start, they're buying the dip at that point. And then you get the run up. So this might be setting up nicely here for, a 4,200, 4,100, 4,300 to 5,000 type play going forward. What is that right there?
James reminded me of the name I was trying to get earlier. The
cool.
founder of 100 Finance is also the founder of VFAT, which is a tool I've used extensively, and we all have. Anyway, really good guy. But the whole team there is good stuff. So thank you, James, for helping my old brain.
Yeah, well, it's just I read something about that too, where they're like, the reason we have harder time remembering stuff is because there's more clutter in there. We've got we've got like 39 years of information in our brains right now, and it's very hard
I'm happy to dump half of that out. So
that's the hard part. What do you dump? Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about that, missing a few things. I sometimes forget what I'm saying when I'm riffing, but look. I just want to make sure everybody understands, because I don't, we do talk politics here sometimes a little bit, but the way I was raised was that, we're all, and I'm speaking to the American audience here, is that we're all Americans, and it doesn't matter however much you think you hate the other side, 80% of the shit is the same.
Yeah.
So, you don't focus on that 20% that you dislike, focus on the 80% that you like.
Yep.
And kind of deal with it. Like with Brad, I got to deal with some of his shit sometimes, and he can annoy me, and I'm sure I annoy him a little bit, but 95% of the stuff we're in alignment on. So we focus on that, and that's just called being mature and being professional. And I just encourage everybody on both sides of the political spectrum to try to find that common ground, and don't always leap to the worst possible extreme assumption of what might happen or not happen, because a lot of times it just doesn't happen.
And if you identify with a party, be willing to call out your party
bullshit within your party.
Yeah, because I do. I'm a lifelong Democrat, although I'm having doubts about that these days. But that's only because the progressive influence of my party is a little much. But I'm a centrist, and so I'm willing to call out crazy ass progressives, and I'm willing to call out crazy far right. And I'm happy to join in the middle. I had a DM exchange yesterday with Mayor Suarez, who's a Republican, and I was trying to put a little pressure on him, because Republicans.
The article?
Republicans in the state of Florida are just fucking out of control, right? The abortion issue, the forcing students to out themselves as gay to the world. I mean, they're just doing crazy fucking 1918 shit. And so I sent him a message and said, hey man, we need you. The state needs you to step up. You are a big economic driver for this state right now, and you are the darling and star of the state. And his reply was, look, I speak out all the time on equal rights for people, and specifically LGBTQ. And he said, and I said, well, look, I just want you to either quietly or publicly tell your people to get their shit together, because they're going to fuck up this economic thing you got going here in Miami. If people are scared to death that there's this fucking, the next thing on the agenda in the legislature is legalizing lynching. I said, so, I said, if people are not going to keep coming to this state, if that kind of shit keeps getting passed, especially in crypto, because it's just, nobody's going to stomach that shit. And obviously I'm doing it from a moral perspective, but I'm trying to make the economic argument that when you outlaw abortion and you don't even allow women who've been victims of rape or incest to get an abortion, and then you're going to force the outing of gay high school students, you're going to limit the people willing to live in the state. And his response was, I'll, do what I can. And I think he's a good guy. He's a centrist Republican, and he's in a tough spot. It's really hard to be a moderate Republican right now.
Well, he's
really tough.
He's between two groups. He's between the Cuban Republicans and the sort of white rural working class Republicans. Most people don't know that pretty much everything north of Broward County is South Georgia. Again, not making fun of my Georgia friends, but it's a different voting bloc, and they both coalesce around certain issues. I mean, to me, I think that Florida needs to be a tolerant state across the board on everything. Now, when I grew up and I was in politics earlier, the people I liked and I emulated were people like Sam Nunn, Dick Lugar, the moderates. And there was, there were still, the Jesse Helms of the world. So you still had fundamentalist people in there that you still have in place, but that are kind of tied to a different culture that's much more church driven and much more, white, and much more about, identifying what's wrong with things versus, trying to be tolerant. They just don't ever meet people that are different from them.
Yeah.
And all they see is, things like BLM protests on TV, and they think that there's, burning down the cities. Well, I didn't see any of that here. There were some protests. It was just regular, protests, laying down the highways. And of course, there was problems in Portland and places like that. But that they think that they're coming to, pick a small town in America and it's going to be an invasion. And it's just not like that. It's the same with LGBTQ. Your kids are either gay or they're not gay. And they know it. You don't. And the fact that you want to force them to not be or to be something they're not is not very Christian, to be honest.
Yep.
And, go back, I'll put it back on you guys. What would Jesus do? He was tolerant, and it wasn't about demonizing people. And, as I've said before, I was raised Catholic, but I'm more agnostic. And if anything, I'm more Shinto Buddhist or something like that at this point. But I'm just saying that you have to think about, they're all people, everybody's people, even the people that, in these freedom convoys and stuff that I, maybe go after a little bit hard, but I just think that it's a waste of time. But I try to understand them. And, I get in arguments with people that, progressives and stuff, where I'm like, you can't demonize these people either, even if they do say the most outlandish shit in the world and there's no grounding in reason to what they're saying. They have grievances. So we have to figure out what those are and bring them back into the system. And if they don't want to do that, well, then, then that's a different story. But I think in the end, everybody in this country is American and wants to be. And so that's why I get so disturbed when I see people, praising Putin and all of that shit. It just is so anti and opposite of what I was raised as.
Look, I mean, at the time that we were raised, at the time our parents were raised, when the country was on a potential war footing,
yeah,
and the president of the United States is navigating one of the most complex situations in the world, you're not out there cheerleading the opponent. You're not out there making derogatory statements about the team trying to save the world from a fucking world war. You're supportive, or you keep your fucking mouth shut. And I think that's the real difference. You know? And I don't want to sound like fucking old boomer. Look, I know times have changed. I know people speak out. I know we're more aggressive. I get all that. I am. But at some point, you have to determine what's in the best interest of you, because you're a member of the world population or the country. And it's just like the argument that I made to Suarez. You're an economic engine. Even if he wasn't personally, maybe he's a hardcore Catholic that would never support gay rights or freedom of choice for women as it relates to abortion. The bottom line is, you want to keep this crypto and startup roll happening into Miami and South Florida, you need to shut these fucking people up, because they're going to fuck it up. You think Silicon Valley and Austin and New York are going to keep moving into Miami when draconian shit is happening to outlaw shit in the state? Not going to happen. They will boogie as quick as they came here. There's only so much the
tax
beach and
benefit.
The cerveza can go, right? And there are plenty of countries they can go to. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I just like, when I was a kid, I remember, the Berlin Wall. I was in Europe when the Berlin Wall came down. And by the way, great movie, Atomic Blonde. If you haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's just a ball.
Atomic Blonde?
Yeah, it's all about when the Berlin Wall comes down.
I'll add it to real good.
It's black on black spook stuff. It's really, really good stuff.
That doesn't sound good. What?
No.
Spies. Okay.
Yeah. I don't mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, that wasn't a racist thing. There's like the black world and the white world, and one black is secret.
Joe's going all in on Boomer today.
No,
okay, I get it.
White is like overt. So
yeah.
It's a really brilliant
Atomic Blonde.
And I think it's Charlize Theron, or who's the lead actor?
I'll tell you right away. Hold on.
It is a brilliant movie.
John Goodman and Till Schweiger.
Wait, well, who's the gal?
Who's the woman, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It doesn't. Why doesn't it tell me the cast here? All right,
you on IMDb?
I'm on Real Good.
Yeah, it's Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a great. And Sophia Boutella.
It's not on any of the major services.
Yeah,
you have to rent it. Maybe it's on Amazon for rent.
It's worth it. But the thing is that the Soviet Union built fences up around everything to keep their people in.
Yeah,
they wouldn't let people go. And so when I saw that, I was like, no, there's something wrong there as a kid. Now, of course, I was raised in the military. So, I was always under the threat of nuclear annihilation just about every day. And when I went to DC to work, I was right on Capitol Hill, a block from all the buildings. And, my reasoning was, well, if there's a nuke slugfest, I'm going out first because I don't want to be sitting around in the aftermath of that shit. So that's kind of the way we grew up. And so when I go hard on the Russians, it's a lot about that.
Yeah.
And, but, again, you guys, as I say, I have tons of Russian friends, just regular Russian people in London and in Miami, and they're good people. It's at the top. It's the same as always. It's this totalitarian dictatorships that
Chuck said tribalism means never having to care about the other guy.
That's right.
That's right.
It's always zero sum.
It's interesting. I've been listening to in the car. I've listened to it in the past, but I hadn't in a while. And I just queued up a few episodes. Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote Tipping Point, I believe was his book, has a podcast called Revisionist History. And what I love about this podcast is it takes everything that you think may have happened in history or big moments in the media and actually turns them on their head for the reality that was really there. And it's really fascinating. But it's funny we're talking about this because I just listened to an episode about this husband and wife who were screenwriters in the 40s and 50s in Hollywood. And from college on, they were huge in the Communist Party, right? Mm-hmm. Big parts of the Communist Party, very intellectual, doing the whole bit. They were controlled by Moscow. The party was controlled by Moscow. And Malcolm Gladwell, when he became a college student, was massively anti-communist because he had done this massive amount of research for a thesis about what Stalin had done and how many millions of people he murdered and he imprisoned and everything else. So when he first heard the story of this woman, he's held on to kind of this anti-communist view in his head. He hated the fact that she had no regrets about supporting Stalin even after she found out about all the murdering and everything else she does. Well, the interesting perspective is that it turned on her because then the witch hunt came after her of the blacklists, right? And she and her husband were forced to testify before Congress. They were shunned from their industry. They were blacklisted from everything. They went from their income dropped from $22,000 a year, which was a huge amount then, to $3,000 a year. They had 2 kids. They went from this incredible lifestyle to this shunned outcast lifestyle for having been a member of a party from something they got into when they were in college, right? Which we all did stupid shit when we were in college. But he does this really good job of making me think every single episode about my perspective, my biases, right, going in. And whatever the topic may be, I always end up after listening to that show thinking about every bias that I have because he brings so many facts into the picture. Anyway, I recommend that podcast.
Well, really look, what it is that there's bringing new perspective to your opinion.
Exactly.
And you just like we talk about crypto and we say, don't just do what we say, listen to 10 people, form your own opinions. Anytime you get additional perspective, whether you want to hear it or not, it's still good to get it.
That's right.
Because then it helps you formulate a more cogent position on things versus just a biased position, as Brad stated. So it's painful, but and it goes against a lot of sometimes what you want to hear, but you just got to hear it and then discard it or don't, or take a little nugget into your repertoire and let the rest go. But you should gather information from every single source. And and it's 1:10. We got to go, but I got to get to my daughter's tennis match. But it's that if you don't, you just get caught in these bubbles. And now with the social media and tech algorithms, it just keeps you in the bubble. And all you hear is all the shit that freaks you out the most. Yep. I mean, I see it with, everybody. And, it just keeps this polarization going. And that's what I have a big problem with the groups that I call entrepreneurial polarizers, like Tucker Carlson, is that they're making money by driving us apart from each other when somebody should be there trying to bring us together. And I guess it doesn't sell. I guess nobody clicks on it. I guess nobody gives a fuck. But to me, that's the only way you function as a society and a culture. You have differences and you debate those differences, and then you come to conclusions, and then you say, hey, great game, shake hands and move on. You don't keep whining about shit 2 years later that didn't happen and use it as a grievance to justify your victimhood. You basically, and I'm talking to everybody, I'm not just picking on the obvious one here, but you basically have to bring that together. If you don't, then you're eventually going to be ostracized and you're going to be driven out of society and, stigmatized. And you don't want that either. Most of this shit is about class, not politics. It's about resources and assets. And, that's why I'm a big harper on education. If you can't see the whole board looking down, you're just in one corner with your back to the wall trying to fight your way out, and you can't even see around the corner.
Yeah.
And so you just get stuck. Education elevates your perspective above, just like Brad's point on biases. That's education. You don't have to have formal degrees. You don't have to have gone to college or grad school or PhDs or whatever. You can read yourself. Just look at the other people's stuff. And, some of it's outlandish. Some of it's crazy, but half of it has a little bit of merit. So on that note, just come together, everybody. It's really frustrating to see everybody so polarized.
Yeah.
On that note, I got to go.
Joe on fire today.
Yeah. Well, I just have to.
Yeah.
I just see it as a national security thing that it's just people are being played.
Yep.
And they don't know it.
So. Listen, everybody, thank you for listening and watching and allowing us to pontificate about our own personal viewpoints as well as on DeFi. I know Joe and I both do that quite a bit, and we love that you guys keep listening. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your direct messages. If you have ideas, thoughts, projects we should follow, things we should take a look at in the space, do not hesitate to reach out to me. B05 Crypto on Twitter. My DMs are open. Please rate, review, like us, share us, tweet us. We appreciate all of that, and hope everyone has a great evening. Joe, thanks. Have a great day, man.
Thanks, buddy. And again, everybody's welcome. No matter what we say, we want everybody here. So thank you, and adios.
Later.